Hi everyone, David Aragona here, and we are taking a look at one of two New York Stallion Series stakes races taking place on Saturday at Aqueduct. This one is race 6 on that 9-race Aqueduct Saturday card. It is the Great White Way division of the New York Stallion Series, and there are $500,000 on the line for these horses that are sired by New York Stallions. I should clarify, this is not a New York bred race. It is a race for horses that were sired by Stallions standing in New York, so that's why you see some of these horses are not actually New York bred runners, though many of them are being by those New York sired stallions. So let's throw up the field for this race, and we've got a pretty competitive group of 11 runners signed on. Some interesting horses that are making the switch from turf to dirt, some who could take some money in this race, like the number 3 Masata and the number 6 Gino. Both of those have the top speed figures in the race, but like I said, they've been competing on the turf. Some of the dirt horses in this race that are coming out of sprints, they've got to step up in class here and prove their quality against some other horses in this race. Definitely the toughest field that a lot of these have encountered, but many ways to go in this 11 horse field. As you see, some horses drawn towards the outside. The pace is going to be pretty important in this race. So let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, because a lot of these horses that are coming out of maiden races have shown a lot of speed, likely to be jockeying for position on the front end. And the number 1 Unique Unions is shown on the lead, but check out that red fast pace flag in the Timeform US pace projector. He's probably gonna have to work pretty hard to secure the front end from the rail. He's gonna have to brake alertly and show that early speed, because horses like the number 2 Bustin Pietre, the number 8 Stir Dat Pot, and even the number 10 Kenner, who showed just behind him, they all have early speed, and some others that are even shown a little further back in the pack have shown tactical speed in their prior starts. So kind of a murky pace situation. We'll see how these horses shake themselves out on the front end, but definitely a race where the break and aggression shown out of the gate is going to be of utmost importance. Let's start the conversation among the contenders with those turf horses that will be switching to dirt for the first time. The number 3 Masata, I kind of pegged as the lukewarm morning line favorite in this race, making him 7-2. Not really sure where the public is going to go in this race, but he definitely is coming off the best last out effort when he was third in that Central Park last time on the Aqueduct turf course, getting a high 99 Timeform US speed figure for that race. Let's take a look at the stretch run of that race, and Masata puts in a really good effort. He's coming off the far turn here with that black cap with the white and black silks. Just inside of him is Gino, who's today's rival as well. He's going to finish 6th in that race, though. Masata, though, despite the fact that he's hanging on his left lead the entire stretch drive, he finishes up decently. It briefly looks like he might forge past the eventual runner up there in mid-stretch, but both of these horses just get run down by a closer who's coming on the outside. You could see Gino, the number 2 horse, finishing 6th in this race, just in a little bit of traffic for much of the stretch drive. Didn't think Gino got the best ride that day from Jorge Vargas. He was not aggressively ridden coming out of the gate, despite the fact that he had showed speed in his prior start, was just kind of in traffic, too far back in the pack the entire way. He'd be the kind of horse that I'd be interested in betting back on the turf, but I'm pretty skeptical about him switching to the dirt. Big Brown, while he was a versatile racehorse during his career, he tends to get more turf horses. The Damn Weekend Hottie, I think she made 26 starts in her career. All of those were on the turf. So really more of a turf pedigree with this horse. And the same goes for Masata. These are just not the kind of horses that I want to bet in a wide open race, because they're going to take money based on those high turf speed figures. And we really don't know how they're going to fare switching to the dirt for the first time. So let's take a look at some horses that do have some better dirt credentials, and check out the number 1 horse, Unique Unions, who is shown on the lead in the pace projector. Let's take a look at his last race when he broke his maiden on November 20th at Aqueduct. This was a really impressive effort. Even though he was let go at 12-1 by the betting public this day after getting eased in his debut, clearly something had gone wrong in that first start, and they figured it out this day, because he showed high speed from the beginning of the race, put away some horses that challenged him on the front end, and just ran away really impressively through the lane. Got a 72 buyer for this performance, a 95 Timeform US speed figure. Those are some of the fastest dirt speed figures in this field. So if he repeats that effort, he's going to be a major player in this race. He just has to get the 7 furlongs and do so, showing speed from the inside with a lot of other speed drawn to the outside. But Rick Schosberg, he's a really good horseman. He knows what to do with a good horse. Manny Franco, who rode him last time, figures to ride him aggressively. So I definitely think Unique Unions is a major player in this race. Another horse coming off a maiden win that could attract some support is the number 9 Iron Lion in Zion. Let's take a look at his last race when he won on November 5th at Belmont. Now, he shows some grit and tenacity coming through between horses here. That's him just circled there in that green cap as he kind of bowls his way out after having some traffic on the far turn. I thought this was just an excellent ride by Dylan Davis, who, after an awkward slow break, getting steadied a bit back at the start, he just saves ground all the way, waited and waited on this horse, and angles him out at the perfect time at the top of the stretch to get the job done, winning this race fairly decisively by nearly 3 lengths. But as you can see in this snapshot of the Timeform USPPs, all of the fractions in that race and the pace figures color-coded in red, indicating that they were moving pretty quickly up front. So that really helped Iron Lion and Zion come from so far back and make that visually impressive closing run. That 75 Timeform US speed figure really does not stack up against some of the other maiden breakers in this field, or horses coming out of maiden races, 20 points lower than the number that Unique Union's got when he broke his maiden at Aqueduct last time. So I'm a little bit skeptical of him, even though we could get some pace to close into once again. A horse that does have some faster speed figures that also broke his maiden at Belmont is the number 10 Kenner. Let's take a look at his maiden victory from 2 back. He's actually run since then, losing as the favorite at Laurel, but this was the best performance that he's put forth so far when he won this race back on October 22nd at Belmont. He showed speed from the inside, rode the rail the entire way, and hold sway in the stretch for trainer Jamie Ness, who has a lot of success out of town, primarily at Parks, not really known for getting horses to win on the NYSS circuit. But I think one of the things that Kenner had working in his favor this day is that the track on October 22nd at Belmont Park really appeared to be favoring horses that had rail position, and he rode that gold rail the entire way. So I think that helped him achieve that 96 Timeform US speed figure that you see in PPs. He came back and validated that number at Laurel last time, but I have some questions about the overall quality of that field, and given the likely fast pace of this race, I wanted to go in a different direction rather than take a horse like Kenner, who could take some money off that performance 2 back. I want a different horse that's coming out of the maiden race, and actually one that did not break its maiden yet, and that's the number 8 Stirred Dat Pot. He debuted at Churchill Downs actually against Open Company, and he's one of these horses that falls into that category by a sire that's standing in New York, Triniberg, but he is actually a Florida bred who made his debut at Churchill Downs, and I thought he ran pretty well in that November 14th race. The winner higher standard, he was much the best, winning by over 5 lengths, but he came back and validated that effort, finishing a good second in a stakes race at Oaklawn Park in his next start. And a couple of horses that finished much farther back in the pack both came back and win. Actually, the 7th and 8th place finishers, one of which was the favorite who was engaged in that early pace along with Stirred Dat Pot last time. And both of those horses came back and improved their speed figures by leaps and bounds in their second starts, winning their races. So I think that Stirred Dat Pot might be coming out of a pretty solid race, and you can already see he got an 86 Timeform US speed figure for that performance. That puts him in the mix. His trainer, Genevieve Londono, not a name that I'm really that familiar with, focusing mostly on the New York circuit, but she's had some success in Kentucky, especially this year. She's been having a pretty strong year. This horse is actually out of a dam that's a half-sister to a runner named Cash Logistics, who's really the star for her barn. So there is some pedigree for this runner to be okay, and I think he could fly under the radar coming into New York to make his NYRA debut. So let's throw my picks for this race. Now, as you can see, in a race where I think some turf horses could take money, some horses whose maiden victories I don't totally trust might take money, I want to get a little bit creative in this spot, so I put that 10-1 morning line shot Stirred Dat Pot on top. I've got Unique Union second of the shorter prices. He's the one that I trust the most. I think he arguably is the horse to beat in this race. I've also got some other maidens underneath. The number 4 Cephalo's Mission, a horse who was a $130,000 auction purchase in December by Linda Rice and her associates. I think he has a right to improve, making his 3rd start. And also the number 5 horse, Hot Stepper, who I've got listed at 50-1 on the morning line. Looks a little ridiculous based on form, but he ran a sneaky race last time, kind of outside, way too far back the entire way, and was really moving through the stretch of that race. He had Jose Ortiz aboard that day, a low-profile jock today, but he goes out for a dangerous barn in Charlton Baker, and he's going to be a gigantic price. Just the kind of horse that might be able to spice up the exotics in a race where I think you want to shop for a price and maybe take a stand against the favorites. But as I said, the number 8 Stirred Dat Pot is my top pick in the Great White Way division of the New York Stallion Stakes on Saturday at Aqueduct.